Video is evolving really quickly right now. It's no longer just about making something good. It's about how you make it, where it shows up, and how you know if it's actually working. So instead of guessing, we went straight to the source. We surveyed nearly 1,000 video professionals for our 2026 State of Video report. And today, we're walking through what we found with some of Wistia's finest number crunchers and content producers, Sam Balter and Meg Dalessandro. We're breaking down why more teams are investing in distribution, how AI is changing who makes video and how fast it gets made, and why engagement, not views, is becoming the new measure of success. If you're new here, this is Talking Too Loud. It's a show for people building brands, products, and content that actually stand out, where we try to unpack what's really working right now and what is just noise. Welcome, Sam. Welcome, Meg. Good to see you two.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Long-time listener. Happy to be here.
Oh, you shouldn't have. So we're here to talk about video, an episode about video. We just did our annual State of Video live event. We released our annual report. There is a ton changing with video right now, a ton. And it is getting harder to keep up with what is changing. So I know everyone wants to know, like, what are we seeing in this data?
Okay.
Just jumping right in. I'm just
going. We're gonna jump right in. So I think there's things that are like year over year trends we always see. More plays on videos, more video creation, more demand from other people. I think one of the things those are pretty common trends. I think one of the biggest things that I'd say is a big kind of leap from last year is basically just how much in-house video teams are growing.
Yeah.
Not just people are growing, hiring video producers, but when we ask people like, who's responsible for making videos at your company, people who are not video producers, that number jumped the largest amount this year. So we're seeing that the average marketer is taking on a lot more responsibility in video production, and more companies are hiring like expert video talent.
How much did that number change?
So when we asked it went from like 36% to 56%.
Wow.
So that's like a pretty sizable jump for just that group. That is only for the group that is not a dedicated video producer. So that's a huge year over year jump for us.
And I know like people can watch the State of Video full event back, right? If they want more details, but can you talk about a little bit like why we believe this is? Like, why are more people doing this? How are they doing this? I mean, this tremendously huge jump.
Yeah, I'd say for in terms of why people are started doing this, one of the big trends is obviously AI. Like AI is what is accelerating a trend that was already happening before. And I think it's a huge jump in basically your capabilities of doing things. An average person can now edit a video like you edit a Google Doc. Your average person could get backgrounds or visuals or music just by typing things in. So somebody with no video skills whatsoever is now pretty capable of doing some like lower level production work that they just weren't able to do before. So one, you have like a capability increase, and two, you look at LinkedIn, more video. You look at any kind of platform, more video. People are putting more videos on their websites as well. So it's like you have both sides of it, an increase in capability so you can produce more, and an increase in demand.
This stat really surprised me. And Meg, I kind of want to hear your take on this, but like you have the report that says like in-house teams are growing right up alongside Disney's massive layoffs, right? And basically saying, forget about the people who can do the thing. Let's make it all robots.
Yeah, I think there's actually a really good segment in State of Video where we talk about the need for an in-house team, and that even though AI is coming in and helping teams do more, when we look at how AI is actually trending, it's actually sort of leveling out compared to the last few years. It's kind of becoming more mainstream. And so even though people want to take the easy fix and just say like throw AI at it, you still really need that in-house team to develop that taste, that strategy. And I feel like we have a really good video you can send to your boss, a PSA commercial, you might say, that says exactly why you need that in-house team to make those decisions.
Yeah, I think it's very much seems to me like this concept that's been thrown around of like Jevons paradox of the demand for when these things get really easy, like the demand for them actually goes up way more than you would expect. Mm-hmm. So in this case, like, you know, you have someone on your team who their title, their role, their experience was never to make videos. Now what we're seeing is that they are, but then they're proving the value. And then suddenly it's like, well, actually, now that they're proving the value, we want these really to be on brand. We need them in lots more places. We're going to still use AI to help us do this, but like maybe we need dedicated people thinking about this and working on this. And that is just, it's like, this is one of those like really weird things that can happen in a moment like this. And I think what surprised me was that the level of shift in 1 year, like that is a tremendous shift in 1 year's time.
And did Disney blow it? I just want to know.
Well, I think that's like, I'm not sure like the dynamics, except that I know that like it's way harder to get people to theaters today, right? And like Disney's competing not just with like a small number of movie studios, like they're competing with Netflix, they're competing with YouTube, they're competing with TikTok. And so they're under threat in a different way. I think if they get rid of all these people who have this amazing taste and like their careers have been making creative decisions, that's probably not great for them long term. But those people are going to they might end up in really surprising places. That's what might be very interesting here is like you have people who come from media directly into these other worlds where it's like, we're all trying to make our stuff better. And like, we have the ability to do that with AI in a way that we couldn't possibly do it before. You need to hire some tastemakers right there.
I think like it does sort of remind me of like when I worked at HubSpot, I feel like we hired a lot of people who were former media journalists and stuff like that. And a lot of that was because newspapers were losing an enormous amount of money. Yeah. So a lot of those really, really talented producers, writers, things like that flooded from journalism and text into the world of tech. And I think like you'll probably see something similar with Disney people. Like there'll be a lot of people who will move over into like tech world because they'll have a set of video skills, producing skills that just weren't really needed necessarily in tech before and are just going to be a lot more valuable now because it's like video is just so much more core for businesses.
All right. So we've talked a lot about like this shift with having many more people in-house making videos. What are some of the other big shifts that we've seen in this year's report?
I think another big shift that we're seeing is just how success is quantified. I feel like years ago it was all about views. Views was everything. You could get a video that had 1 million views or 1,000 views, whatever, and it would have little to no comments, and that was still seen as a really big success. Where now I feel like people are really locked in on that social engagement or the actual comments, the likes, the reactions, the shares, things like that. And you can actually have a video that gets a handful of really thoughtful comments, and that'll actually be so much more successful than a video that has a bunch of views and a bunch of bot comments that just say like fire emoji, because like, what is that, So I think they had a stat in the report where actually social engagement has jumped to the top of the list in terms of what people are quantifying as success for video. And so that was something that really stood out to me, because I feel like I definitely feel really guilty of being discouraged when I see a video doesn't get a lot of views. Even if I'm getting a lot of really thoughtful comments, I'm having great discussions, I'm even getting more connections, it's easy to get really bogged down and, oh, this didn't get X amount of views. And especially when you're reporting up to someone, you're trying to be like, this thing worked, I promise, like, look. But it's actually interesting to see that shift in people's perspective of what is success.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's also extending out. Like this is going to have a larger effect for how LLMs are starting to pick up things. Like we know like a couple things have happened, we noticed. One, LinkedIn this year has moved up to the #1 video channel for B2B marketers. It was previously YouTube. Now it is LinkedIn. They say that's their best channel for distributing video.
Which is wild, by the way.
Which is wild.
That's a huge, so wild, crazy shift.
Yeah, because it's like just a few years ago, it's like you're still mostly thinking about LinkedIn as like online resume. Now we're basically like, okay, we're in a lot more video. We're sharing thought leadership. But you combine that with like LLMs really frequently citing LinkedIn as a top source, you like put those two pieces together and you realize like, okay, great. Having a video that might not get the most of views, but is showing your expertise and driving large comments. If you want to get lots of comments, lots of engagement, video will likely beat text. If you want to have something that's like really narrowed and on a specific topic, video is going to be a great way to do that. And so I just feel like with that like focus on engagement, you're just seeing this larger shift where it's going to be like, I really want to get engagement around narrow topics that I am actually an expert on. Whereas like instead of trying to pop off on whatever is the trending topic of the day, like I think a lot of people can kind of lower their feelings of like needing to do that, of like, oh my God, there's a trend. I need to do this trend as well. I need to comment in it. It's like you can actually just stay in your lane, build your expertise. And then like as LLMs are picking that up, that'll be really valuable to you.
Are you guys seeing that like in your own feeds? Are you seeing like way more video in LinkedIn? I feel like I'm seeing that way more even than like at the beginning of the year.
This was like, it's something, it popped up during like the State of Video live chat where we were like, LinkedIn is number one. And one person was like, I don't see any videos on LinkedIn. And then everybody else was like, I want your out. Like, how do you not see videos? Like, what do you mean you don't see? Like everyone on there was like, we all see videos. So I think at least for me, it is like 40% more videos at least.
I think I've also seen that types of videos on LinkedIn drastically changed in the last year. I think a year ago, you were seeing the same types of podcast clips with the same types of captions. And it was like, kind of like Sam was just saying, copying that formula that worked and just doing it again and again and just trying to flood the feed with that. And I think everyone got a little bit burnt out on that. I know I sure did. And so I feel like I'm seeing a lot less of that. And I'm starting to see more creative uses of video. I love seeing Liquid Death in my LinkedIn feed because everything they make is so delightfully unhinged. And I just hope that more people start creating more exciting things on LinkedIn. The other thing I would say is that speaking back to our point on everyone's making video, now it's not just video teams making video on LinkedIn or CEOs or founders or whoever, podcast people. It's actually, you'll see like an engineer put a product demo of them walking through something.
God bless.
And I'll actually sit through it because I'm like, oh, that's actually really interesting to hear from the person who made the thing, what they found most interesting or how they built it. And I think that's going to be interesting to see how more of that everyone making video thing starts integrating into the feed. So I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I think that's when we zoom out on like where AI is adding the most productivity, it's actually on the software engineering side. And so if you're following Wistia, we're shipping like at an utterly insane pace. And that creates this other challenge that everyone's going to have, which we've been talking about, which is how do you get the attention? How do you tell people about the stuff? And one of the things that I think it seems like it's coalescing at this, that might be the answer is actually, no, you're going to have more people talking, who are the people who are making the things, actually making the videos themselves, making them for their very specific niche, which before the algorithm and stuff couldn't get just that super specific thing to the right person. Now it actually is going to. And so we're seeing a little bit of the solution start to show up, which is like, yeah, this democratization of video production is going to be critical for how people get the messages out there about the stuff that they're building and what they're doing, the behind the scenes of why it works the way that it does. I also think it's just interesting looking at video as like a very much the apex medium of like, you could take video and turn it into audio. You could take video and put it into clips. You can take it and, something long that you don't think most people are going to watch, like pull it down and pull the insights, write a newsletter. Like if you have that system, that engine built, it is much easier to match the content you're making to all the different places where people might consume it. But if you're starting the other direction, it's, I think, harder.
Yeah, I feel like that is just for us, our own workflow is just a lot faster for certain things. Like even something like we had our State of Video live yesterday. Within a number of hours, we had a recap blog post done. And I think like that shift is just how quickly we were able to take something that's video and turn it into something else is huge. And just to like paint this from perspective, if there's like people who are not actually aware of how this process works, it's usually the person who is doing the webinar is not always the person who's writing the blog post. So the person who's writing the blog post actually has to watch the webinar, which isn't always the case at a lot of companies. Like they are just like, oh yeah, I'll catch it later. So it's like the webinar will happen. The blogger will watch the webinar maybe like 2 or 3 hours afterwards, take a variety of notes about it, write a recap blog post at it, edit that blog post, and maybe get it out within like 48 hours. Like I'd say that's a pretty common trend for people. Now it's like the webinar, I took pre-recorded things, I ran it through Remix, I got a draft blog post, the live event happened, Q&A added into it, edited once, it's like 12 hours, or less than 12 hours, the whole thing is live. And so like that shift is just so much faster. And with video, it's like you weren't really able to bridge that gap as quickly. And I think that's just one thing you're seeing of like, Savage, to your point of things breaking into pieces. It's just way quicker to do it than it used to be.
I feel like I'm of two mindsets when it comes to repurposing, because obviously, like, I see the value in being able to turn a long form video into all these other pieces of content, like whether they're shorter videos or newsletters or whatever have you. But then I feel like there's a case to be made that like every platform is a different sport, and you kind of need to sort of fine tune the content to the platform that you are posting on. So I guess like what do you think as people are repurposing, like what are some guardrails that they should be thinking about? Is it like knowing what kind of content you're going to get out of it from the jump and like that's enough? Or
I'll have Meg take that one first.
Having written our video repurposing cookbook out of Wistia, I am very passionate about making and repurposing things with a purpose. I think it's so easy.
With a purpose. I like it.
I think it's so easy to, again, I think maybe a year ago, it was just, all right, we have a podcast. We're going to get as many short clips as humanly possible and slap some captions on it. So we have months and years of content. But if you're not thinking about what the context of that clip is broken out from the full piece, people are just going to see that in their feed and just be like, what is going on? What is this? And so you might be getting more mileage out of something, but you're literally going nowhere because people aren't sitting there with you in that context, and you're not thinking about the context in which they're seeing it, especially between different platforms. Like I'm in a totally different headspace when I'm on TikTok than when I'm on LinkedIn. And I personally hate having my time wasted. And so I hate when I watch something and it feels like a giant waste of time. Like I could watch 10 million cat videos. That would be a way better use of my time than half the stuff I see on LinkedIn. And so I'm just really passionate about thinking about repurposing from the jump. So that way you're not wasting anyone's time, including your own, because again, there's no point in making a bunch of clips if they're not going to get watched and not send people anywhere. So that's kind of my soapbox, which I'll step down from now.
I like it.
You sure do. What's something like going through the report? There's so much data in there. We've talked about a few of the surprising insights. Are there any other things that really surprise you from this you want to make sure that people don't miss?
For me, it's like webinars are so big for us, and it's like something I'm so interested in. And I think there's a couple things that stick out. One is just like people are not appreciating just how engaged a webinar audience is. Like even at a benchmark level, we have stats of like the engagement rate for something of a 30-minute webinar. It's going to be like 70%. So like people who are there.
Yeah.
It's like if you put any long form video, no long form video will get that level. Like if you put it on YouTube, it is like if you can get over 50, incredible. You are 10 out, like amazing. Webinars are just regularly doing like 70, 80% in terms of like their engagement rate. Wistia tracks another metric below that, which is like focused attendee rate. So that's, are you actually clicked into the window, not doing something else? That's only like a little bit below. That's like 60% on average. And so like you just do not get a more engaged audience than you do on a webinar. And I think like if you just look at a webinar as a video that is playing, that people are watching, like it's kind of unmatched in terms of that level of engagement. And so like that to me is just one of the most surprising things. The other thing we track is like just within the world of webinars is how I'm very obsessed as our content person with the shelf life of stuff. And generally webinars very much feel like when they're over, they're over. We saw that 30% of the webinars hosted are still getting views like 3 months afterwards. You look at webinars, like you go down 9 months later, kind of drops to about like 10%, little less than 10%. Wistia, we're like solidly have webinars that are getting views like over 12 months later. And so there's just so much room with webinars to turn them into these assets that just keep getting views. And I think it's like crazy to imagine this format where you have super high engagement the moment it happens and long shelf life. And it's relatively low cost to produce. And so like that combination to me was just like, I know people know it, but I think seeing the numbers like really kind of drilled and brought that point home.
Yeah, I think we should go deeper here and like, excuse me for getting too meta, I think, but like I think I'm gonna go all the way there, which is like
always
which is I think like if you have not seen what we're doing, like we call them a webinar because that's the colloquialism, right? Like that's what we call them. Like if you were to go and look at the state of video live, it doesn't feel like a webinar to me. It feels like a show. And we've made this conscious choice of like, we're going to make the production of the live event so remarkably great that like, not only we're going to take advantage of that attention, right? Like we know that already the attention is high. So we want you to come in and feel like, wow, I'm seeing something really special. Just talk about what goes into this, I guess what I'm saying. Like what goes into these events for us now?
So let's see, a couple of years ago, we moved to totally pre-recorded or pre-recorded first 30 minutes. And then the last 30 minutes is live Q&A. So it's a combination of a pre-recorded show and a live Q&A. The pre-recorded thing is based on, for our State of Video Live, we do it like a news thing. So we have a variety of different segments. We have all people from the office come in and like play different characters and things like that. And so basically you end up with this 25, 30 minute totally wrapped show, and then we kick it over live. And the thing is we invest so much time in this, and like Chris Levine was a huge like proponent of this direction because he's like, if we can make a 30-minute live show, there's no dead air. Every moment is useful. Everything is engaging. There's not these like drop-offs where people feel like, oh, this isn't relevant to me. It's so fast and entertaining and useful. And it also like, Meg could talk a lot more about this, but like as we're not giving the webinar, as I'm not talking while it's happening, we're way more engaged in chat. We're more involved with like giving relevant resources, and we're able to do like a lot more to make the live experience better. But I mean, maybe Meg, you could talk a bit about like our run of show and just how like detailed that becomes.
Yeah. So besides just planning ahead and making sure all those segments can be repurposed later on, as we can, again, get more juice for the squeeze, we always create what's called like a run of show document, which basically says, at this point in the show, we're going to drop this link. And at this point in the show, we're going to run this poll. Or at this point of the show, we're going to have these resources ready. Or we're going to think ahead and say, hey, like, if this happens, like, what are we going to say? If someone asks, is this pre-recorded? What are we going to say? And it just makes it so you can actually be very present in the moment. And so you're not just sitting there sweating, just hoping that things go well. And it also makes it so that when Sam and Taylor come into the live Q&A, they're fresh, they're ready. They actually have the bandwidth and like mind space to see the chat and see what questions are coming up as they're coming in live. So they can actually kind of start prepping their answers even before they're sitting in the live Q&A, which just, again, makes that content just so much more valuable in the moment.
Yeah. So I guess my question is, knowing all this about webinars and the fact that they are so engaging, especially when they're like a show, what should video teams be thinking about, like, going forward with regard to webinars? Is it like make this like really high end production? Is it like start off with maybe trying one segment? I shouldn't be feeding you any answers. I am leading the witness.
Yeah, say it again.
What should video teams be thinking about with regard to webinars?
I think for most companies, and I could be wrong, video teams aren't really working on webinars. Like a lot of video teams are not part of the webinar process. The webinar process usually sits with somebody within demand gen or in another area. They're not tied to the video team who's making like educational content or they're making ads. Like that is a lot of the time what your video team is doing, and your webinar person is a totally separate person, or it's just one really overworked marketer, right? But like, I think what the easy thing for video teams to do is to start bringing in some pre-recorded content into live. Like we, on our town hall, it was a mix. There was live, there was pre-recorded, there was live, there was pre-recorded, and it oscillated between those. And I think like a lot of video teams just need to get involved in the process of like creating videos that can be played or used during the webinar. And I think one of the things that's really nice about that is once you get a video person in, they will likely up-level the webinar just because they can't not up-level the webinar. They can't not think about how you're sitting in that room. They can't not adjust your lighting to make you look better. They can't not fix your audio. Like if you bring, like, just the main thing video teams need to do is actually just get involved in the webinar process at all. And then once they're involved a little bit, it is going to steadily up-level that content. And I think, like, when you think about the webinar person and repurposing, that webinar person may not be responsible for ads, for social content, for things like that. And so, like, anything you can do to thread webinars more throughout the rest of your marketing org, the better off you're going to be. And everybody's going to just generally benefit from that.
Well said, sir. Well said.
Yeah, I think the other thing that I think a lot about is that the hardest part about a webinar is getting people in the room. And one of the first things people see about your webinar is the title. And so even though it's not necessarily with the video team itself, I think having like that content-minded person who might be writing ad copy or might be thinking through the blog post that comes after, really thinking about, does this title just sound like a sales pitch? Because who realistically wants to sit through a half an hour sales pitch? Like, I know I don't. And so I think putting that value up front and making sure that it's so clear why they're spending time with you and why that live time would be valuable with them is really important. I think a lot of teams drop the ball there. And I definitely feel guilty of wanting to lean more towards the sales pitch, because I think as marketers, we're always selling. We're always thinking of, all right, this webinar is supposed to get X amount of dollars or this product or that product. But really putting yourself in the viewer's shoes is something that I think video teams are really, really good at. And so I think that's just another benefit of bringing in video folks into the webinar process.
Yeah, I think a lot of the pre-recorded stuff, like that's where they can be like, okay, we need to make something about our product. It needs to be like actually entertaining, but we know we're going to have attention. So let's like take those constraints and go make something. Because that's what I keep thinking about is like, it's getting harder to differentiate yourselves. Like SEO doesn't work the way that it used to. Like it's harder to get traffic. It's harder to get attention. So if you have places where you can actually get it, how do you make the most out of it? And I think that's where it's like, look at the stuff around you and see if there's opportunities to, like, it can be as simple as the right pre-rolls in before it's going, or even at the end of the event. I think like that stuff actually makes a difference. Like people are waiting anyway. You might as well give them something fun and interesting. And they happen to learn about some other product you have. Like that'll be okay if the event delivers.
100%. And actually, I'm going to say a win that was huge, the State of Video Live. Instead, normally every video team should help people produce some pre-roll waiting thing, like a timer clock. Like this is so easy for video people. But like what we ended up doing was we stole movie trivia before the webinar started. So we just had trivia from State of Video, and it was like, it instantly got chat going. It's
my love language, dude.
People in there. It was so fun. And it was like people were engaged, people were chatting. It's like it really, I love knowing what location you're calling in from. I think it's fun. But like fun. A little bit more than that is nice as like the pre-show.
Yeah. When in doubt, movie trivia.
Well, for webinar chats especially, I think I'm a big proponent of adding GIFs to webinar chat. Like my emotions cannot be contained by emojis alone. And so I love adding GIFs because it just gives people something to react to. And sometimes I feel this way too. I don't have anything smart enough to say in the webinar chat. So I'm like, I just want to laugh react, or I want to heart react, or I want to answer like, which of these is a berry? Is it a banana? Is it a raspberry? Like, what is it? Like, I think getting the chat warmed up with those really low stakes questions or giving them something to react to other than just having to get out their location is a great way to get people engaged right from the jump.
Yeah, I think also about the people who are there who are choosing to spend their time at this event. Like if you have 50 people at a webinar, I think sometimes video teams are like, well, I want thousands of views on my thing. Like, is it worth it to make something that's for 50 people? But if you were to imagine like 50 people walked into the front door of your office and you had to have them something good to show them, you would definitely invest in that. And like, that's effectively like kind of what's happening. And it's just unfortunately, because it's online, like you're looking at that right next to looking at like a social clip, right next to looking at like a thought leadership piece, right next to looking at this organic traffic. And I think that's the part that can sometimes be confusing here in terms of how much to invest. Because and the difference is, if you know that people are going to spend 1 hour actually paying attention, that is ridiculous. And so you have to make the most of it. And I think it makes it, I mean, we've seen so much success from making those clips, making the pace feel much faster. And I mean, not to just like toot our own horn, but people are literally in the comments being like, this is the greatest webinar I've ever been to, which feels good, but they say it every time. And I think it's because like there's still so much opportunity there. Like most people are not actually doing this, and therefore like you can be pretty differentiated by doing it.
Just a little bit nicer. It's a lot better.
Zooming out a little bit, I guess I'm curious, like in previous years for SOV, for the report anyway, it felt like there was a lot more like fear around creation, or like the barrier. What are you shaking your head?
I'm just laughing at SOV. SOV?
SOV?
State of video.
It's like, I want to do the dun dun, like from Law and Order SVU.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
You really interrupted my flow state, man.
Yeah, SOV. No, that's what happens.
You got me.
I'm flowing.
Well, I was going to say that in past years, it seems like a big barrier to video was around like fear of creation. Like, I don't know what to do. And now it seems like more people are like, okay, I can kind of create the thing, but I want to know if the thing is working. Do you have that sense in like video land these days?
I feel like actually the most consistent barrier to people making video is just always resources and time. And I think, as we talked earlier about the appetite for video being never ending and you can never satiate it, it's just becoming harder and harder to feel like you're keeping up, because that bar just keeps raising higher and higher. So I think because video has become so democratized, people are getting more comfortable being on video, and just looking at how, I think years ago, most video on your website, or most video for marketing, was a really polished, maybe explainer video on your homepage, where now we're seeing maybe like lower polished videos on social and across like different emails and such. And I think that since the quality, people don't expect super studio high quality video, it feels more approachable. So maybe that's kind of what you're saying, where people don't feel like that's the biggest barrier anymore. It's actually just keeping up with the demand and trying to find enough resources to make enough video for everyone. Yeah,
that was very eloquent. I think I realized the thing I was asking and I didn't ask it well.
Yeah, it's something totally different. Go ahead, Sylvie.
I think I was trying to say,
like, what kind of coffee do you guys like?
Oh my God, stop. You're derailing everything. Savage, you're a monster.
I'm great.
I think I was trying to say,
my apologies, Sylvia. I'm sorry.
You're punchy. Sorry. You know what? That's what we're here for. We're keeping people engaged on their toes. Okay. If in previous years, like a big barrier to video felt like comfort being on camera, comfort making the thing, it feels like now the sort of barrier is like, how do I know? It's less about comfort, like they feel more comfortable, but how do you know if your video is working? I guess like that's the other part of this equation where I feel people are still like a little bit in the dark.
I think it depends on your goal. Like every video has such a different goal for what it's supposed to do, and that's such a vague answer. That's not a very like actionable, like put this into action right now kind of answer. But that's what my first thing that comes to my head is that it really depends on thinking ahead of what is this video supposed to do. I think you used to just make one video, slap it across every channel, and just pray that something would come of it. I think now people are a lot more intentional. And so I hope that maybe thinking whether it's the channel it's on, the type of audience, when it's meeting them, or connecting it to the other parts of the organization, that might help people understand better if it's working or not. I think a video fails when you're trying to tie it to every goal under the sun and you're trying to make it do everything everywhere all the time. It's kind of, there's like that saying, I don't know, I'm totally going to butcher this, but it's like, if you're saying everything, you're not saying anything at all, or something like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of what comes to my brain.
Yeah, I feel like for me, in terms of how you're measuring it, I think there was a really large trend in performance, like the rise of like performance marketing, and everything is tracked and everything is benchmarks to all of it. One thing I've been noticing is like as more executives end up on LinkedIn posting videos, this is just my own 2 cents, but I feel like they're referring to their success by the comments. Like it's more likely that you're going to see like lots of execs be like, oh, these are great comments. I posted a video and I got really good comments, really great things. Like a few years ago, they wouldn't, if I posted a video and went to like my leadership team and went, I got great comments, they'd be like, oh, well, it's got to be views. It didn't get many views, Sam. That was kind of a waste. But now that executives are starting to post more videos on their own, they're like, oh, these comments are great. There's things.
Yeah. Oh, so that's interesting.
There's a shift in the like, now that you have more executives making videos, more executives are measuring and understanding that the comments, the engagement, those types of things really matter, because they're like, let's follow up with that guy, see how he's doing, what she said. Let's find her. Let's get a partnership going.
Why are you killing me right now?
Like, and then all of a sudden it's like, you know, now if I'm talking about a video performance, it's like, oh, Sam, don't worry. We've got the right people in the room. That was not the conversation necessarily happening like a couple of years ago. And so I think like really it's like starting to shift from like, as more people, as more execs are taking on the role of thought leadership, they're starting to look more into the actual engagement and actual conversation.
Are you trying to like blow up my spot over here? What are you doing?
Look, I'm just saying you're one executive who maybe has some similarities. I don't know. I don't know if this has happened.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
you do that, Savage. Like you'll post things and then be like, "These are great comments." Like,
of course, but I think it's. I'm just really laughing, like thinking about this, because I think it's so true what you're saying, and that like basically it's so easy from the outside to complain and ask for these like really high level numbers, and wonder like why is it things not moving the needle, but then you're actually doing it yourself and you realize, oh, this is one of those things that I really need to pay close attention to. And if I'm getting a lot of comments, it's such a small fraction of people who are going to comment and actually care enough. And then are the comments real? Is like the other, you start looking at the details to get your full picture of like, is this thing motivating attention and engagement the way that we want?
Yeah, like I feel like you're looking at the details more now than maybe looking at the top level numbers. Like you might look at the top level numbers and be like, this video got a lot of views. I should look at what like people are saying. And I feel like now it might be starting to reverse, where you're like, people are saying really good things. Is this video getting a lot of views? Is it expanding?
Well, I think we're judging, I think almost we're implicitly judging the different pieces now, where it's like, if someone makes a video and it has like incredible comments on it, then you basically can tell the content's great. Then it's like, well, if we know it's great, what should we be doing about the distribution of this thing? Where before, I think like people were often removed from the quality piece of it. So they're just looking at like the high level metrics. And I wonder if part of it too is like this huge like AEO shift of like the alligator thing of like, you're going to get more impressions. Like people's impressions are going up, but the clicks are going down.
Yeah.
Oh,
and so then alligator. It's like, so like your impressions are going up, your clicks are going down, but like, is the quality of signups going up? And then so it's forcing us to get deeper to understand what's going on. And they're like, oh, the quality is going. So then what do we need to do? Like, I think to myself, the companies that have the best products and the best brand, the best service are going to do better in the AI world because they can't fake it. So it actually simplifies what to focus on to a degree, which is like make your shit amazing. And then like, if you can do that, yes, you're going to have to do all the other right things to make people aware of it. But like, you're not going to take off if your stuff's not great, because like the AI is going to tell you people hate this product for this reason, or they hate the pricing for that reason. And I feel like it's the similar thing happening with content. It's like your content's really on point and it's for the right audience. Eventually the algorithm's so good, it gets to the right people. So it forces you to zero in on the details.
I just love that this paradigm shift is predicated on CEOs discovering comments. That's it.
I think
we've discovered comments.
Well, I think it's also that like.
I mean, I'm being
Yeah, but I think
no, I think it is hugely CEOs like getting.
I think that is a big part of it. I think it's also that we've had like, look, there's tons of companies that had incredible SEO and shitty products.
Yep.
And they grew big businesses.
Yep.
And
that's not the world we live in anymore.
And that's shifting.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what, like before, be like, just make more pages, just do more stuff. And I'm like, no, it's not that simple.
Right.
And if you're someone who actually wants to make great stuff, it's going to be better. It's like a more equal playing field, but it's very disruptive on the way in. Yeah. And so I think when these kind of moments happen, it causes everyone to get into, or should cause them to get into the details.
I think that's very true. And I think like, it seems like intentionality. Whoa, I have something on my glasses.
This is how Sylvia's without glasses.
This is me without glasses. I actually am so blind.
Savage, you're the only regular eye.
That's true. That's
true. Come on. You want to join the Four Eyes gang?
I tried wearing blue light glasses and I just couldn't do it.
I'm so blind. Like I'm scared. I shouldn't.
You should be scared. You should laser your eyes.
Cut that right out.
No, this is the gold. This is gonna be the best clip of this whole thing.
Nope.
And somebody's just like, I'm blind. And then all the comments are like, what happened to this person? Why do they look like this?
Nope. It feels like being intentional is like very important these days, whether that's in your video strategy, in your like how you're showing up on social. And like before, obviously SEO, you had to be intentional about the words you were choosing, but not necessarily the deeper things.
It was like intentional for the robots, but not for the humans.
Yeah. You get me, Meg.
I know. I'm producer brain. I got you.
You get me.
Sorry, I don't know. I didn't mean to cut you off.
You didn't. I sort of cut myself off.
So you're saying the stuff about the glasses is staying in?
We've lost the plot.
Okay, last question. What will the future hold?
Future. Okay, I got my future answer. So like if this goes on social, like please put like a large warning, Sam doesn't actually know anything about sports.
That is for sure going to happen. I want you to know.
Like, I don't really know sports.
That's the thumbnail.
I don't know sports, but
okay.
I'm like obsessed with like when Brad Stevens took over coaching the Celtics, he talked about this change in the way the teams were like organized, basically saying that like players had gotten so much better that the traditional roles no longer were like particularly useful. And so he came up with like a different system of basically saying you have bigs, they're big people, handlers, they handle the ball, wings and swings, they are like moving the ball around and shooting tons and tons of threes. The thing about this is like, one of the things is it gave rise to what's called like positionless basketball. So everybody can play a little bit of everybody's role. Everybody has a lot larger of an overlap of skill sets and things move around a lot more dynamically. And if you think about like the way teams are working today with like, because of things like AI, because marketers are just getting better at stuff, I think we're basically going to drop down into like 3 roles. There are going to be people who are producers. They are just going to be responsible for producing content, no matter the format, whether it's in text, whether it's video, whether it's webinars, you will do that for your team. You are a producer. The next person I think that will exist will be coordinators, people who are like running campaigns and making sure that you have the right message in market at the right time. And they're going to be making sure all the producers are like lined into like campaign formats. And then the last is just going to be interfacers, like people who interface with other humans, interviews, events, doing things in person, partnerships. And I think like when we look at the marketing team of the future, I think it's going to be a lot more multidisciplinary. And I think what you're going to see is a lot of companies start to move in this world where even for us at Wistia last year, we had a big focus on guides. We really needed to build up our like guides and resources. Meg is on the team, producer, working on guides, building out our guide library. the end of this year, we are building out our webinar library. Meg, the same producer, is shifting into a different focus, right? Like this is going to be the thing that I think is going to be the biggest change is like,
okay, Meg winging and swinging.
Meg is winging and swinging, like, but everybody, she can do all of the different capabilities. She has skills and coordinators in other areas. So like, to me, that's what we're going to be seeing as the big future. You're going to get marketing teams that are more dynamic. You're going to get individuals that are more dynamic and do a wider range of things. And then you're going to have teams shift their goals as opposed to just saying like, every year we have to gain more email addresses. And your goal every single year is to get more people into the database. Like you'll pick larger and bigger goals and adjust your teams based on that. And I think like that is going to be the thing you're going to see a lot. And it's going to be really chaotic. And it's going to be really confusing for lots of teams and lots of individual people. And so like, I think there's going to be a period of like with the Celtics where you were often watching them and they were just missing threes and doing terrible. And you're like, is this system working? Why did we commit to this? And then it clicks together and you have everybody working really, really cohesively. And I think like that is going to be the future. That's going to be like the next 2 to 3 years. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I like how complete that is. And I agree with you. I think it's also, in a sense, basically, when you're like a tiny startup, everyone wears like many hats and they have to. And then we've scaled by specializing, and like the specialization is effectively going away. Mm-hmm. And we're going to use tools to help us specialize, and we're going to have generalists with different focuses. And I agree with you that I think it's going to be pretty rocky at first, because like everyone is going to be able, just like we were talking before, everyone can make videos. Like anyone can make a website, anyone can make an ad. Everyone's going to have the data on how it's performing, and you're going to have to like figure it out. But I think on the other side of it, it's going to let us accomplish bigger things. Can you put this on stage for a second?
What do you got?
I don't know.
There it is.
Wow.
Wow. Amazing. This is what technology can do.
Wow.
We needed this.
We needed it bad.
This is great.
This is Sam Stevens.
Yeah, that's my dream. That's my dream.
This is your dream.
Richard, there he is.
You don't know much about sports, but here you are coaching the Celtics.
Yeah. Mr. Like, let me say I don't know them, and then be like, the point guard, the handler.
Yeah. I was so happy that metaphor didn't get any deeper into sports, because you would have completely lost me.
Yeah,
but I think you brought it back home.
Yeah. You landed that plane. You did, and I was impressed with your sports knowledge. It sounds like you know sports.
Yeah, you really do. You do sound.
That's why I need the warning at the beginning, so nobody asks follow-up questions. I don't really know that much.
Perfect.
For me, I feel like if I were to grab the video marketing magic 8-ball and like shake it really hard, and this is sort of like a prediction, but also what I'm really hoping for, it would be, if we're thinking about how social engagement is becoming more important and how we want to use more webinars, and like that live engagement is so valuable and people are just so engaged during that time, I think more and more people are going to start focusing in on more niche communities and niche streaming events. Like if you look at the broader video space, like outside of business, outside of like SaaS or whatever, people love things like Twitch and YouTube streams because it feels like you're hanging out with someone. It feels like you belong there, like you're part of the event. And I know Wistia, there's like this idea that the word like webinar has this like corporate stink to it that I feel like we at Wistia know that webinars don't need to be boring. But I think when people see the word webinar, sometimes they think, oh, I'm just going to sit through someone's slide deck as they make no eye contact with anyone and they just like slowly go through it. Like, why am I here? But I think at Wistia, we've tried to do as much as we can to make it a really fun, valuable experience where we're hosting variety shows, game shows, DJ hours. And I think, and I hope that more people start to understand that a webinar is not just a slide deck and is not just a boring presentation that someone could easily get over email or get in a blog post. And so I just really hope that people start getting more creative with what they do with that live time, because there's just so much opportunity there. And like we were talking about earlier, that attention is so valuable and so rare for any sort of marketing material. So I'm just looking forward to a lot of really cool, unique things. And I also think the best thing about live is that you can't plan for everything. So there's going to be stuff that messes up. And that actually kind of humanizes the people on both sides of the screen. And so even when the producer in me is sweating profusely when something goes wrong or something's out of place, I always have to remind myself, like, you know what? We're just human. And now they know that even if this was partially pre-recorded and live, like, we're just marketers, we're just humans just trying to do the same thing that you all are. So that's my hope.
Yeah, I think that's
Love that.
Yeah, I love that too. And I think that the stakes of being live are what people like, right? Like the chance that it might go wrong slightly and then how someone reacts to that is often
a little schadenfreude, a little like blooper reel.
Yeah.
It's a mix of both like wincing and like laughing with you.
Yeah, totally.
And my prediction, you thought we were done. We are done.
Nothing.
Wow, Sylvie, what a joke. Hilarious.
What a joke.
Well, look, it was so good to have you both here today, going through State of Video, your predictions for the future, how AI is changing everything, what people should think about, how they're using video, how video is being democratized, how to repurpose. We've covered a lot, so thank you. Where can people connect with you to learn more?
You can always hit me up on LinkedIn. I like to chat to people. You can just email me. I use email still, sbalter@wistia.com. If you have any questions on things like this, I think
bold, Sam.
I don't care. I connect. I love directly talking to people. So if anybody needs anything, just reach out to me.
Yeah, and same here. You can catch me on LinkedIn and email. I don't know if you'll be able to spell it, but mdalessandro@wistia.com. If not, it's probably somewhere. Just find me on LinkedIn.
Nice.
Awesome.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
So quick recap from today. Everyone's making video now. The marketer, the engineer, the founder, everyone is in the mix. Distribution matters more than ever, which means you have to think about where your videos show up and how they get seen. And engagement is the metric to watch. Are people actually responding? Are they commenting? Are they taking action? If you can get those three things right, you're in a really good place. For anyone who wants to go deeper on State of Video, you can check out the live show and download the report on Wistia.com. And if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like and subscribe to Talking Too Loud wherever you get your podcasts.